Have you ever walked into a room and felt like you were the punchline of a joke you didn't even know was being told? That's exactly how Christmas Eve started for me and my daughter. My name is Rachel, and I thought I was doing the right thing by keeping family traditions alive. But sometimes, tradition is just another word for toxic patterns we're too scared to break. It was December 24th, and snow was falling gently outside my mother-in-law's house. The kind of picture-perfect scene you see on Christmas cards. Twinkling lights wrapped around the porch columns, a wreath on the door, and the smell of cinnamon and pine greeting us as we walked in. My daughter, Lily, was holding my hand tight. She was 12 years old, at that awkward age where everything feels magnified, where every comment sticks like glue. "Mom, do I look okay?" she whispered as we stood at the door. I looked down at her. She was wearing a simple red sweater and jeans. Nothing fancy, but she looked beautiful to me. Her dark hair was pulled back in a ponytail, and her brown eyes were filled with nervousness. "You look perfect, sweetheart," I said, squeezing her hand. But I should have known. I should have seen what was coming. Because in my husband's family, perfection wasn't about being yourself. It was about meeting their impossible standards. My husband, David, had gone ahead of us. He was already inside, laughing with his brother, James, and his sister, Victoria, the golden children of the family, both successful, both wealthy, both married to equally impressive people. And then there was me, Rachel, the elementary school teacher who'd somehow managed to marry into this family 12 years ago. David's mother, Patricia, greeted us at the door. She was a tall, elegant woman in her 60s, always dressed like she was attending a gala even for family dinners. Her smile was practiced, the kind that never quite reached her eyes. "Rachel," she said, kissing the air near my cheek, "you made it. And Lily, dear." Her eyes swept over my daughter, and I saw it, that quick flash of judgment before the smile returned. "How nice to see you." That phrase, "How nice to see you." Not, "You look beautiful," or "I'm so glad you're here." Just, nice. Like we were obligatory guests she had to tolerate. We walked into the living room where the rest of the family had gathered. James and his wife, Christine, were there with their 2 daughters, both dressed in matching velvet dresses that probably cost more than my monthly salary. Victoria and her husband, Robert, stood by the fireplace with their son, a 17-year-old who was apparently being scouted by Ivy League schools. And then there was Lily, my sweet, sensitive, brilliant daughter who loved art and poetry and saw the world through colors most people couldn't even imagine. "Lily," Victoria called out, her voice dripping with false sweetness. "Come give your aunt a hug." Lily walked over hesitantly, and Victoria embraced her in that theatrical way some people do when they want everyone to see how caring they are. "You've grown so much," Victoria said, holding Lily at arm's length. Although, she paused, and I felt my stomach drop. "Have you gained weight, sweetheart? You know, at your age, it's so important to watch what you eat." "Christine, didn't your girls just finish that youth fitness program?" The room went quiet for a split second. Christine laughed uncomfortably. "Oh, Victoria, I'm sure she's fine." But the damage was done. I saw Lily's face turn red. Her eyes dropped to the floor, and she pulled away from Victoria, wrapping her arms around herself. "Lily is perfect just the way she is," I said firmly, walking over to stand beside my daughter. Patricia waved her hand dismissively. "Oh, Rachel, Victoria's just trying to help. You know how cruel kids can be at that age. She's just looking out for Lily." Looking out for her? By humiliating her in front of the entire family? David appeared at my side, putting his hand on my shoulder. "Mom's right, Rach. Victoria means well. Come on, let's not make this awkward." Make this awkward? I wanted to scream. They'd just body-shamed our 12-year-old daughter, and he was worried about making things awkward? But I bit my tongue. Because that's what I always did in this family. I stayed quiet. I kept the peace. I smiled through the insults and the judgments and the constant feeling that we would never be good enough. Lily excused herself to go to the bathroom, and I followed her. I found her standing in front of the mirror, tears streaming down her face. "Mom, am I fat?" she whispered. My heart shattered into a million pieces. "No, baby. You are beautiful and healthy and perfect." Aunt Victoria was wrong to say that, but everyone heard, and no one said anything. Even Dad. Even Dad. Those 2 words hung in the air like poison. I hugged her tight, but inside, something was shifting. Something was breaking. Or maybe, something was finally waking up. We returned to the living room, and I made sure Lily sat close to me on the couch. David was deep in conversation with James about some business deal, completely oblivious to what had just happened. Or maybe he wasn't oblivious. Maybe he just didn't care enough to do anything about it. Dinner was served in the formal dining room. Patricia had outdone herself, as always. A massive turkey, all the traditional sides, everything arranged like a magazine spread. We took our seats, and I noticed Lily barely touched her plate. "Lily, aren't you hungry?" Patricia asked, her voice carrying across the table. "I'm fine, Grandma," Lily said quietly. "You should eat, dear. Growing girls need their nutrition." Patricia paused, exchanging a look with Victoria. "Though perhaps not too much." "We wouldn't want you to." "Well, you know." I felt my blood boil. "Actually, Patricia, I think Lily knows how to listen to her own body." "I'm just concerned," Patricia said, dabbing her mouth with a napkin. "Childhood obesity is such an epidemic these days. I read an article about it just last week." Victoria chimed in. "You know, Rachel, there are some great programs for kids. Christine's girls love their nutrition boot camp. Maybe Lily could join them?" "Lily doesn't need a boot camp," I said, my voice sharper now. "She's a healthy, active child." James laughed. "Come on, Rachel. We're just trying to help. No need to get defensive." Defensive? They were attacking my daughter, and I was being defensive? That's when it happened. Victoria turned to Lily directly and said, "Sweetie, you're such a pretty girl. You could be even prettier if you just lost a few pounds. Boys notice these things, you know." Lily's fork clattered onto her plate. She stood up, tears filling her eyes again, and ran from the table. I stood up immediately. "That's enough. Rachel, sit down," David said, his voice low and warning. "No," I said, my voice shaking with rage. "I will not sit down while your family tears apart our daughter." Patricia sighed dramatically. "Oh, for heaven's sake. We're trying to help the child. You're being oversensitive." "Oversensitive?" I laughed, but there was no humor in it. "You've spent the entire evening making my daughter feel worthless? And I'm oversensitive? Maybe if you raised her with a little more discipline," Victoria started. "Don't," I pointed at her, my hand trembling. "Don't you dare finish that sentence." David stood up, grabbing my arm. "Rachel, let's talk outside." I yanked my arm away. "No. We're done talking. We're done pretending this is normal. We're done subjecting Lily to this toxic behavior." I walked out of the dining room to find Lily in the hallway, her coat already on, her face stained with tears. "Can we go home, Mom, please?" "Yes, baby. We're leaving right now." David followed us. "Rachel, you're overreacting. This is Christmas Eve. We can't just leave." "Watch me," I said, helping Lily with her scarf. "If you walk out that door, you're making a huge mistake," David said. I turned to face him. "The only mistake I made was thinking you would ever stand up for your own daughter." We left. We got in the car and drove home in silence, Lily crying in the passenger seat. And as I drove, I made a decision. I wasn't going to let this go. Not this time. They wanted to shame my daughter. They wanted to make her feel small. Fine. But there would be consequences. Real consequences. And they would come faster than they could ever imagine. Because here's the thing about people like Patricia and Victoria. They only have power if you give it to them. And I was done giving them anything. The next morning, Christmas Day, I woke up with a clarity I hadn't felt in years. Lily was still sleeping, exhausted from crying herself to sleep. David had stayed at his mother's house. He'd sent me 3 texts, all variations of, "You embarrassed me in front of my family." Not "I'm sorry." Not "Is Lily okay?" Just concern about his own embarrassment. I spent Christmas morning researching. See, I knew things about this family. Things they thought I didn't notice because they saw me as just David's quiet, simple wife. But teachers are observers. We see everything. We remember everything. I knew that Patricia's charity foundation, the one she bragged about constantly, had some questionable financial practices. I'd seen the documents David had brought home once, heard the worried phone calls. The foundation was supposed to help underprivileged children, but most of the money seemed to go toward administrative costs and fancy fundraising galas. I knew that Victoria's perfect marriage was a façade. I'd accidentally overheard a phone conversation 6 months ago where she was crying to someone about Robert's affair, but she stayed because divorce would hurt her image. And James? His successful business was built on connections and backdoor deals, not merit. He'd been fired from his previous job for ethics violations, but his family's money had made the scandal disappear. These people love to judge. They love to feel superior. But their lives were houses of cards, and I was about to blow. I started with Patricia's foundation. I contacted a journalist friend from college, Amanda, who specialized in nonprofit investigations. I sent her everything I had, anonymously at first with a note, "Might be worth looking into." Then I made a call to David. "We need to talk," I said calmly. "Finally willing to apologize?" he replied. "No, I want a divorce." Silence. Then, "Rachel, don't be dramatic. We've been through worse than this. Worse than watching you sit silently while your family destroyed our daughter?" "I don't think so, David. I'm done. I want full custody of Lily, and I want you to understand why. You're not taking my daughter from me. I'm not taking her. You gave her up the moment you chose them over her." I hung up and blocked his number. Then I sent a group email to the entire family, including extended relatives who'd been at dinner. The subject line read, "What really happened on Christmas Eve?" In the email, I laid it all out. Every cruel comment, every body-shaming remark, every moment they'd made a 12-year-old girl feel worthless. I attached photos of Lily's face after she'd cried, her eyes red and swollen. I explained in detail how their behavior was emotional abuse, how it could lead to eating disorders, depression, and lasting psychological damage. And then I ended with this. "You claim to be a family of values, of class, of charity. But you showed no charity to an innocent child. You showed no class in your cruelty. And your values are nothing but a performance. I will not allow my daughter to grow up thinking this behavior is normal or acceptable. We will not be attending future family gatherings. If any of you want to be part of Lily's life, you will apologize to her directly and prove through your actions that you've changed. Otherwise, stay away from us." I hit send. Within 15 minutes, my phone exploded with calls and texts. I ignored them all except one. It was from David's uncle, Frank, who'd always been kind to us, but rarely attended family gatherings because, as he'd once told me, they're exhausting. His message was simple. "Good for you." Someone needed to say it. That girl deserves better. By that afternoon, Amanda called me. "Rachel, this foundation. There's a real story here. The numbers don't add up. Can I run with this?" "Yes," I said. "Run with it." The article dropped 3 days later. Amanda's publication ran a full investigative piece titled, "Charity for Show: How One Wealthy Family's Foundation Fails the Children It Claims to Help." The article detailed everything. Patricia's foundation received hundreds of thousands in donations each year, but less than 20% actually went to helping children. The rest went to salaries, expensive galas, and operational costs that seemed suspiciously inflated. The board of directors was made up entirely of Patricia's wealthy friends. There were no oversight committees, no transparency reports, no accountability. The scandal exploded. Social media picked it up, local news ran segments, donors started demanding their money back. The foundation's reputation was destroyed overnight. Patricia called me, hysterical. "How could you do this? You've ruined everything I built." "I didn't do anything," I said calmly. "The truth did. If you'd actually helped children, instead of using them as props for your social status, there wouldn't be a story." "You vindictive." "Don't," I interrupted. "You had a chance to apologize to Lily. You chose not to. Now you face the consequences of your choices. Just like my daughter had to face the consequences of your cruelty." Victoria called next, sobbing. "My friends are asking questions. My social circle is falling apart. How am I supposed to show my face at the club? Maybe you should have thought about that before you told a 12-year-old she needed to lose weight." "I was trying to help." "No, Victoria. You were trying to feel superior. There's a difference. And now you know what it feels like to be judged publicly. How does it feel?" She hung up. James sent a long text about family loyalty and how I'd betrayed them. I replied with 2 words, "Lily first." David showed up at my door a week later, looking exhausted. "Rachel, please. My family is falling apart. Mom's foundation is being investigated by the state. Victoria's having a breakdown. They need us." "They need you," I corrected. "They don't need me or Lily. They made that clear. They didn't mean—" "Yes, they did. They meant every word. And you let them. That's what I can't forgive, David. Not that they're cruel, but that you let them be cruel to our daughter and expected us to just take it. What do you want from me? I want you to choose your family's approval or your daughter's well-being, because you can't have both anymore." He left without answering. And that silence was answer enough. The divorce papers were filed 2 weeks later. I asked for full custody based on David's failure to protect Lily from emotional abuse. My lawyer presented all the evidence, the emails, the testimony from family members who'd witnessed the Christmas dinner. David's lawyer tried to paint me as vindictive and unstable. But the judge looked at Lily's therapist's report, the documentation of the emotional damage, and awarded me full custody with David getting supervised visitation until he completed family counseling. But here's where it gets interesting. Patricia's foundation wasn't just investigated, it was shut down. The state found multiple violations, and she was ordered to return misappropriated funds. Her reputation in her social circles was destroyed. The woman who'd built her entire identity on charity work and social status was now known as a fraud. Victoria's marriage did eventually fall apart. Once the family's perfect image cracked, she couldn't maintain the pretense anymore. She and Robert divorced, and she had to move into a modest apartment, far from the luxury she'd always known. And James? His business took a hit when clients started questioning his ethics. Turns out, association with scandal is bad for business. He lost several major contracts. 6 months after that Christmas, Lily and I sat in our small apartment, decorating our own tree. It wasn't fancy. We didn't have expensive ornaments or designer decorations, but it was ours, and it was filled with love. "Mom," Lily said, hanging a handmade ornament she'd created in art class, "do you think they'll ever apologize?" "I don't know, sweetheart, but I do know this. Whether they apologize or not, you don't need their approval to know your worth." "I'm glad we left," she said quietly. "I didn't want to at first. I thought maybe I was the problem. But my therapist helped me understand that the problem was never me." I hugged her tight. "It was never you, baby. It was never you." Lily had started therapy right after Christmas, and it was the best decision I'd ever made. She was learning to rebuild her self-esteem, to see herself the way I saw her. Beautiful, talented, worthy, enough. She'd also joined an art program at a community center where she was thriving. Her teacher said she had real talent, that her work showed depth and emotion beyond her years. Lily was starting to smile again, starting to stand taller, starting to believe in herself. As for me, I'd learned something important. Standing up for your child isn't being vindictive or dramatic, it's being a parent. And sometimes, the most loving thing you can do is remove them from toxic situations, even if those situations involve family. Did I feel guilty about the fallout? About Patricia's foundation being shut down, or Victoria's marriage ending, or James losing clients? No, because I didn't cause those consequences. Their own choices did. Their lies, their cruelty, their fake facades, all of that was going to crumble eventually. I just happened to be the one who pulled back the curtain. David reached out a few months later, asking to meet. We sat in a coffee shop, and he looked different. Tired. Humbled. "I've been going to counseling," he said. "Individual and family therapy like the court ordered, and I'm starting to see things I didn't want to see before." "Like what?" I asked. "Like how toxic my family is. Like how I was raised to value their approval over everything else, even my own family. Like how I failed Lily. And you. It took losing us for you to figure that out?" "Yes," he admitted, "and I hate myself for it. But I'm trying to change. I want to be the father Lily deserves." "That's between you and her," I said. "I won't stop you from building a relationship with her, but it has to be on her terms now. She needs to feel safe." He nodded, tears in his eyes. "I understand. Thank you for not giving up on me completely." I didn't tell him that I had given up on us as a couple, but I hadn't given up on him as Lily's father. Because for her sake, I hoped he would change. Children deserve parents who fight for them, who protect them, who choose them above all else. As Christmas approached again that year, Lily asked me what we should do. "Whatever you want, sweetheart. We can stay home, just us. We can volunteer somewhere, we can visit your friend's family, whatever makes you happy." She thought about it for a moment, then smiled. "Can we invite Uncle Frank? He was always nice to us." "Of course," I said. So we did. We had a small, simple Christmas with Uncle Frank, Lily's best friend and her mom, and it was perfect. No judgment, no cruelty, no walking on eggshells, just laughter and warmth and genuine love. The moral of my story? Family isn't defined by blood. It's defined by love, respect, and protection. And when people show you who they really are, believe them the first time. But more importantly, teach your children that they never have to accept mistreatment, even from family. Standing up for yourself and your loved ones isn't dramatic or vengeful. It's necessary. And sometimes the most powerful thing you can do is simply walk away from people who don't value you and build a new life filled with people who do. They shamed my daughter for 15 minutes. But in doing so, they lost her forever. And honestly, that's their loss, not ours. Because Lily is thriving now. She's confident, creative, and surrounded by people who celebrate her exactly as she is. And that's worth more than all the approval from toxic family members combined. Sometimes revenge isn't about destroying others. It's about refusing to be destroyed by them. It's about choosing peace over poison. It's about building something beautiful from the ashes they tried to leave you in. And that's the sweetest victory of all.